Okay. Now, I worked for Nick Smith, as I said, and I was always struck by the hostility towards trade in some of our Republican base at the same time as having the largest stretch of the 994 corridor, which is where so much of our trade with Canada just drives down the road and drops stuff off and picks them and takes it to Canada, back and forth. What do we do about explaining trade better to even our Republican base in Michigan, but more broadly, people who are struggling, like in Michigan?
No, I think we have to explain trade more thoroughly to our elected officials. Our elected officials seem to have this magic mantra that all trade is free trade. First of all, the term is false. This is why we have a United States Trade Representative. If free trade were simply the elimination of all barriers, tariff barriers or non-tariff barriers to the entry of goods into countries, I think the United States would be much better off. Unfortunately, what we have are negotiated trade agreements. So they have different countries that you're dealing with. You have different issues that you're dealing with, different sectors of your economy which are being dealt with. But it isn't free trade. So first, I'd remind my elected officials of that. The people of Michigan already know this. Secondly, because the elected officials don't seem to understand this and seem to take a rather universalist, I would almost say Hegelian dialectical approach to trade, it frustrates Americans to see how can Communist China be considered a worthwhile permanent normalization of trade relations partner with the United States when, after we've previously discussed, they're engaged in all these barbarous and injurious practices, both to humanity and to the United States in particular. The reality is Americans understand free trade with free nations. We have no trouble with Canada, but we also have trouble understanding why we would trade with a communist nuclear-armed dictatorship and helping to enrich them and empower them to become a more strategic threat to the United States. Once Americans understand that America has a trade policy by which we level the playing field and compete fairly with free peoples, they will support it. But when they look at what we're doing with Communist China and other types of regimes, they don't buy into the theory that somehow an enormous trade deficit is a measurement of American prosperity. I think the public is ahead of the elected officials on that.
Okay.